I'd like to welcome everybody to Master's Economics Orientation. There are a few students who are having visa problems, and some people couldn't be able to attend today. So besides yourselves, there'll probably be about 7 or 8 more students joining you for spring 2010. So I hope everybody got here okay. I'm glad everybody was able to make it. In about an hour and a half, we'll have some food, so hopefully you'll be hungry. We have plenty of food to eat, and you'll also get to meet some current students as well, and they'll be able to help you. By the end of the day, the goal is to orient you towards the program and also help you towards registering for classes. Don't feel overwhelmed yet because you don't have to finalize your schedule today. You have plenty of time to finalize your schedule, and I'll get into that a little bit. Today's outline for the orientation, you'll get to meet the chair of the department, Dr. Ehrlich. You'll also get to meet Dr. Chang, who's the director of the master's program. I've interacted with most of all of you, so you kind of know who I am. I'm going to give an overview of the program. I'll talk a little bit about career planning. The professor for CFA, unfortunately, isn't here today, but he did say, we'll talk a little bit more about it, is that if you have any questions about the courses, the CFA coverage courses, to attend his first day of class or to contact him directly. And we'll talk a little bit more. The EGSA president, unfortunately, isn't back from holiday yet, so you'll get to meet him during some of the social activities that we have throughout the year. Afterwards, we're going to register for classes for people who need help. We'll meet some current students, and we'll get to enjoy some pizza and just to relax a little bit. I know it's kind of overwhelming. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce the chair of the economics department, Dr. Isaac Ehrlich.
Okay, so first of all, welcome to all of you. We're delighted to see people coming to our program, and you're joining the program in mid-year. Most of the students join it in the fall, but we still insist on giving flexibility to people to join us in mid-year. So I have to tell you one thing. Omed, I need you from you.
Yep.
I want to tell you one thing, that you made the right decision. Please, no, by coming over. I say that because I'm just back from the American Economic Association meeting in Atlanta. Every year the economics profession holds an annual meeting that a lot of people attend from all over the country and from other countries as well. I was very busy there this time because I was in charge of 2 sessions. Well, one of them I organized, but the other one I had to participate. It was a round table. So I moved a lot, and I had many other obligations to meet, like chairman's breakfast and then journal editor's breakfast. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. But that made me just move around, and I met a lot of people. And some of the people that I met were students from the MA program. That's why I wanted Matt, to listen to, because I'm not sure that I knew the lady's name. We had an MA student who went to USC to do her PhD in finance. Do you know who? You know who the person is,
yeah.
Right? I'm sorry that I did not remember the name, and she did not give me a card or anything of this sort. But she came over and said to me that her experience at UB was the highlight of her academic life so far, and that she misses the place a great deal. She's in a PhD program. She chose to do her PhD in finance, which is, appropriate. I mean, this is a program in an economics department, so some of the people may choose to go on and do their PhD in economics, and others, may decide to do it in finance, and chose to do it in finance and went to the University of Southern California. So she said, well, weather-wise, of course, they don't have snow. she doesn't miss, the white stuff so much. So, the weather has been particularly nice in Southern California these days, so that was very enjoyable to her. But in terms of being a part of a program and enjoying the program, she misses UB. That's what she said. And of course, I mean, it gave her an opening to a pretty good program. I mean, USC has a pretty good program in finance. So I said you did the right thing, because this was not atypical, because there were at least a half other students from the MA program that I met in Atlanta. Various places, and they come over to me and say, Dr. Ehrlich, I'm so happy to see you. And then they tell me a little bit about what they're doing. So some of them are working for enterprises in the private market that also came to Atlanta to the annual meetings to recruit. They recruit PhD programs, but some of them found jobs. They're not necessarily the top jobs that they found if they don't have a PhD degree, but they did find jobs. Some of them were older students, of course, some PhD students. I met a lot of PhD students as well. So that was really a very, delightful experience for me to see that the program resonates. And I think the program resonates for a very good reason. And that is also something that I got from that lady and from others that I know found jobs. Our program gives you an opportunity to learn not just corporate finance. As you know, we don't teach accounting, so you have basically only one course in accounting, but it's enough, to get through the understanding of financial accounting or financial reports, things of that sort. But we do give you exposure to the main subject matter in economics. And that's an advantage that does not exist in MBA programs. They're a lot more concentrated on finance and accounting and marketing, but the role of economics is not emphasized. And what is not emphasized is econometrics. This program has 5 econometrics courses that are available to you. 5 altogether. Business school has 1. So I want to tell you this, in terms of what employers seek at this point, I have so many testimonials and so many messages that I get from students who have experience in the job market and know that is probably the winning card. Once they go to interview and employers see that they had 3, 4, 5 econometrics courses. 2 general ones, and one is econometrics for finance, right? And then there's a forecasting, and there is a hands-on that Dr. Yin is teaching, right? That just teaching you how to use the various programs, the main programs. Wow. They think that they're getting someone who can actually do some work and help, whatever it is, a consulting agency, typically. They need a lot of jobs of this sort. Some go to banks. Some go to special departments, within banks, risk management. It's an area that is growing in importance, and now that the United States is in the process of rehauling the regulatory framework that oversees financial markets and financial transactions, you can expect they will come up with reforms that would require even more understanding of how to deal with these issues. So, to some extent, more jobs will be available. This is, I think, the signature of the program. And because of the signature of the program, sometimes we have, discussions within the department of, how to reorganize the program in the best possible way. And incidentally, we do seek input, from students when we do that. The director of the program, Dr. Chang, I'm sure is going to cover that because he did a great job, last year sitting with students and faculty and thinking about how to rehaul the program. So sometimes we have discussions as to whether or not it's really important for us to give all these courses that we have given so far. I have to tell you my position is very firm on this. I do not want to change the signature courses in the department, the signature parts of the program that have worked so well, for the students. the best evidence that we have about the impact of the program, incidentally, I don't know, the Matt talked a little bit about it.
I haven't talked about anything.
When he started, I mean, the program exists just a little more than 10 years. What? No, not even 10 years, about. Okay, and it grew from maybe 23 students when we first gave the program to over 200. And there is always a question about the way that the university leadership, looks on graduate programs like the ones that we give here. And, there's sometimes ups and downs because different administrators have different views about how a graduate program ought to run. Some are a lot more interested in PhD level courses. I mean, for a research university, that is very important. But others thought that it's also very important to have a master's program for a variety of reasons. The way that program interacts, let's say, with a PhD program, the way it interacts even with the undergraduate program. I mean, undergraduate students also benefit from the fact that we have a master's program because they have an opportunity in their senior year, to get selected courses from the MA, level. There is some interaction between the MA program and the PhD program, so it goes both ways. But depending upon the views of the leadership of the university, sometimes they want to emphasize one program more than the other. We're back now in a situation in which the university definitively recognizes the value of the MA program, especially in economics. Very simple reason. We have become the largest graduate program in the College of Arts and Science. The College of Arts and Sciences is the biggest college. There are almost 30 departments. No department in the College of Arts and Sciences get close to us. Now, at one time, we were not competing with the MBA program in terms of the size of the program. Not anymore. We're almost even. We're simply attracting, I think, a different type of student, but it's the kind of student that I think is going to fare, very well in the coming job market situation. Because, we're still, not entirely over the recession. Some call it the Great Recession. Actually, in terms of the loss of output, I think it's a big exaggeration. The loss of output was not significantly different, from other recessions, let's say the 81, 82, recession. But we're coming out of it a little differently because I think the labor market is not revived. Job creation, is not as vigorous as it was before. So what do? I mean, in economics, we believe in competition. So I think the product that we are turning out here, we would like the product to be competitive in the coming job market, and I think that there's a very good chance that it would be. And in this regard, definitely not less good than an MBA program just because of the advantages that I mentioned to you. There are, a lot of MBAs around, and there is some sense, among employers that the product that they're getting is not as valuable to corporations as it was before. And I think I already hit on it. I mentioned, the need for people who can really do well. And I think that that's the signature of the program. This is what we're trying to do. So you did the right thing. That's what I wanted to say. The other thing that I wanted to tell you is a little bit about the department so that you know that you're joining an enterprise that has, first of all, other programs. We have a great deal of pride in our PhD program. It's not a very large one. But we do get occasionally very good people, who then go to the job market again. When I was there were a number of students from our program who were seeking jobs, and they had a large number of interviews this year. And it's a tough year. So, that was also, something that I was, delighted with. We have some, things that make our department at this point, being looked upon quite favorably, by the higher administration, because we have a center of research. It's called the Center for Human Capital. We have a journal that is nationally ranked already, not specific ranking yet, but it's only 2 years old. And it's called the Journal of Human Capital. A lot of people know about that. So The sessions that I was participating there was one that I organized myself on new directions in the economic analysis of human capital. It was in the biggest hall that they had over there because we had well-known people joining the session. So I think that there were probably about 300 people in the room. That was kind of a nice experience. Although it was very cold in Atlanta, very cold. I think in Atlanta they don't know how to cope, with cold weather. So there were a couple of hotels and they were connected, with each other. And one was very cold. There was one session I participated in. There was a round table in the economics of crime, and there were people in the audience who put on their overcoats. It was so cold, there was no heat. One of the panelists that was sitting next to me is, I don't know that you know the name, Baumol, Professor Baumol from Princeton, and he has, I guess, a joint appointment in Princeton and NYU, and he's quite old. He was shivering. So, it was kind of, very cold. But it was a very pleasant occasion, in the sense that, we were represented on the program in a major way. And also, we were represented in the Chinese Economic Association, where we had, one of our faculty members participating in a number of sessions. That was a good presence, and I think that it does attract attention to what's going on in Buffalo. A lot of people are aware of some of the exciting opportunities that we have here. So these are the general things that I wanted to talk to you about and tell you. I am going to let the director of the program, Dr. Cheng, come in and talk with you more specifically about the program, but I'd like to know if you have any particular questions or comments to me, please. I'm here to answer questions.
How cold did it get in Atlanta?
It was, let's see, it was, I think, 28 degrees at night, something that they're not used to at all. The sun was shining though.
Something we're not used to.
But the problem really is when the sun is shining, it typically is colder, because there are no clouds to kind of trap the air below. And I think one day they didn't even have hot water. I don't think that people appreciated that, especially the people who go for interviews and could not take a shower in the morning. So they were complaining about that, and they were talking about that inside, sessions. How come you can't handle it? So I have to tell you, when I had an opportunity to say something in the session, I said, it's not as cold in Buffalo. And the audience, really loved it because they were all very sympathetic about the fact that it was so cold. They didn't anticipate Atlanta to be so cold. The association picks that place because they think it's going to be warm. Next time we're going to suggest maybe one day they should come and hold a conference in Buffalo, which is a warmer spot. Any other questions or comments?
Who contributes to the Journal of Human Capital?
Who contributes to it?
Yes.
Okay. We have on the editorial board 4 Nobel winners in economics. I urge you to take a look at the website. Is Matt here?
Yep.
Yeah,
I'll show them I will show them. There's a link off of it for the department website, so I will show everybody.
Yeah, we have an editorial board probably, second to none in terms of the reputation of the people who are on the board. They don't do as much as the people who are actually helping, run the journal, which are the associate editors, and there are 10 of them, and they're also very well-known economists. The journal has run for 2 years, so we're just finishing the 2nd year. In other words, 8 issues altogether. And we have published so far very few papers per issue. Does anybody have any idea why we would make a decision of this sort? The typical issue had only three papers. Typically, you would expect to have maybe 5, 6
Gives more
journals
value.
like the Journal of Political Economy.
Gives more value to each article.
Pardon?
Does it give more value to each article?
It does give a lot more value to each article, but I think what you think the motivation is, to have only 3
quality.
Selection, that's it, it's quality. It's particularly important, and I have to say it's been my decision, because I'm the editor-in-chief, and I have to see to it that the Journal of Human Capital gets into the family of economics journals that are being published by the University of Chicago Press, and they include some of the top journals in economics, like the Journal of Public Economy. I'm sure all of you would recognize it because you'd see, articles mentioned in the JPE. Is one of the oldest. JPE is one of the oldest journals in the profession, and probably considered has always been considered one of the top three, like the American Economic Review, the JPE, and Econometrica are indisputable, the top journals in the profession. But it existed for over 100 years. So, a lot more, path-breaking articles appear in the JPE than in any other journal of economics. But we also have the Journal of Law and Economics that has a very strong reputation, the Journal of Labor Economics that has a good reputation, and now the Journal of Human Capital. So, there is a lot of responsibility on us, and, the way to do that is to simply advertise that, the criteria for publishing an article in the JPE are as high as in the other top journals in economics, and there has been a response. I have to say that, I have some evidence at this point that the strategy has been working because the submissions have improved in quality. Because in the beginning, everybody likes, especially when they see a new journal, they would like to send an article that they have, always hoping, which is good. People should always strive, to publish something that they think is of value to the profession. But then, we reject a very high percentage of the submissions, almost, the same level as some major articles. So basically, the reason that only 3 articles made it per issue is because I didn't have more. So, it still is kind of work in process, but it's very exciting. It's very demanding and very exciting, but I have to say that, the associate editors who work with me are, some of them are almost equally as enthusiastic as I am. Of course, I am more, because I'm the founder. And so I kind of look at it as something that I need to nurture, with particular care. But the others are equally excited about it. And the reception in the audience, was like that. We had an opportunity, of course, to plug the journal. And, when you have close to 300 people in the audience, you mentioned it a couple of times. And so there were people who came over and said, I didn't hear about that. It was so good that I came to the journal. People think that information flows freely. But, we already know in economics that information is a scarce resource. So it takes a bit of a time, to get information around, and so people recognize what we're doing. But I think it was, very rewarding, for me personally. A lot of people came over and expressed interest. Who are the people on the editorial? They asked the same question that you did. Who is on the editorial board? And I said, well, you go to the website and look it up. Of course, professional economists know how to find things. They Google and they go on other websites and they find all the information. But this has been a very, very nice experience for me personally. Let me just try one more thing before I turn over the baton. How many of you came here because of a particular specialty that we have in the program? Yeah, raise your hands. The specialization that we have. Financial economics, international economics. We do have in principle law and economics. I'm afraid that the other specialties are not as popular. So maybe you can just show me by show of hands who came because of a specialty. Just raise your hand. That's what I expected. You have opportunities, of course, to also join the MS program. I should mention that. And if you know a little bit about the distinction between the MA and the MS program, maybe Dr. Chang will cover it later on. But the MS program has been growing. As I said, people who are interested in using the education that they get here as a stepstone toward the PhD program. I think probably would be more interested in the MS program. Those who are kind of a little more oriented toward going to the market and finding a job over there probably would be happier at the MA level. The thing that I want to recommend to all of you, take advantage of something that is a relative advantage of the program. In principle, you know, you can just take 30 credits, get a master's degree. That's a policy. Some students do it. I think the majority of the students who come to the program do take a specialization. And the specialization, I think, is what gives you the edge. Take that into account. I mean, it's going to be, you know, even now, particularly, it's going to be a competitive labor market. You really want to show something that is unique. And fortunately for us, we're in a position to establish, or we have established a program that is distinct. I didn't want to boast, but I really do think that we don't have much of a competition with other schools, top universities included, in the master's level. If you know of another MA program that is organized like ours, I'd like to hear from you. I mean, which one is it? We don't really know. You know, I don't want to sound immodest, but I think it's probably one of the top programs, if not the top, because of the way it's organized. Most economics departments, you see, will have typically an undergraduate program, and they would have a PhD program, but they would not have a standalone daytime MA program that is comprised in a way that, and organized in a way that we have organized this particular program. So we are distinct already. And that's an edge, you know, to start out with. But the edge really comes from the specialization. Because otherwise you have a lot of departments that give MA programs. They're typically not programs, not even day programs. You can earn a master's program, and you can do it in 1 year, and then go to the job market. Those of you who can afford, you know, staying a little longer and taking the full 45 credit hours that I think the MA plus specialization offers, or that the MS, you know, requires. You know, there's no choice in MS. If you go to MS, you have to, you know, take 45 credits, you know, to finish. I urge you to consider this very seriously, because especially in today's, you know, job market, this is very effective. Okay, so if you don't have any other questions or comments, thanks very much for coming, and good luck.
Thanks, Dr. Early. Next, we'll hear from the director of the master's program, Dr. Winston Chang.
Welcome, everybody. By the way, first of all, how many of you are currently undergraduate student here, now coming to our MBA program? How many of you are currently undergraduate student here? Just one. And so all of you are the new students, either coming from other universities or from foreign countries, right? I see. How many of you know about our program through what? Through website or through what? They say through website. How many of you through website knowing our program? How many of you knowing our program because of your friends told you? In any other categories?
Professor at medical school. Professor,
At
University of North Florida, Professor Ballymore.
Oh, other professor told you. Okay. Well, welcome to our program. As Dr. Isaac has already said, you are coming to one of the very large MBA programs. I would say in SUNY system, MA in economics, we are the largest. There's no question. And even in the nation, we are rivaling quite well, because I think it's very hard for you to find over 200 students in the program, and we are. We have more than 200 students in residence. And we have over 35 countries or something like that, over 5 continents.
Right.
And so this is an opportunity for you to really get to know many people from different parts of the world. First of all, let me tell you, you are in the right place, right time, because at the right place, because the this program can give you very good program to enrich your career. And let me say something like this, economics. Sometimes people say, well, you study economics, you're not studying accounting with a license or getting a license or engineer or like a MD with license. Now, economics research doesn't know that much of anything, right? But actually, that is the wrong concept. If you look at the economists' pay, economists are paid higher than many other disciplines. Right? If you look at Gregory Mankiw, anybody knows about Gregory Mankiw, Harvard professor, economics professor, his website, Mankiw, Gregory Mankiw. He was a director. He was the chairman of Council of Economic Advisors to President George Bush. And he's went back to Harvard. His website, I believe, 2008 in September, August, I saw he published saying that economists are the second highest paid among all professions, other than the MD. That is BA degree. Right? Economics was ranked number 2. Now, do you know who ranked number 1? Which discipline? What? Computer? No, that's a professional school. It's a computer engineering. Right? And we are head of computer science. Right? We are head of civil engineering. We are head of electrical engineering. And so economists are highly paid. The reason is that economists must know quite a lot of things. Right? You must know economics, but also you must know mathematics, and you must know statistics, right? And you must know econometrics. Now, many disciplines, they don't have this kind of requirements, right? So our knowledge being required so much, naturally we'll get more pay. Right? That's one reason. Now, another one is economics nowadays is very suitable because for our MA program, it's very flexible. You can go into law degree, you can go into other disciplines. Right? Doesn't have to stay, you can go back to business school to take a PhD there or even other disciplines. And our program can be a very good stepping stone. Right? Also, you can utilize this program, right, and prepare yourself for job market. And I'm sure most of you will be looking for jobs after MA or after MS. And I can tell you, among the programs that are most popular here is financial economics. I would say that 70 or 80% of students are all into financial economics. Now that was the case 2 or 3 years since, very popular because Wall Street was paying so high salaries. But this financial meltdown, I think it will stop some students from pursuing that because it's no longer so easy to find jobs in Wall Street. Right? So I've witnessed in the past couple of years, more and more students are now opting for going into other fields. And many of them will utilize the time here to take like 45 credit hours MS or AC, advanced certificates. Right? Now we have a 30 credit hours basic MA, which a lot of students can even graduate within a year, but most one more some or something. 30 credit basic MA. And then we have advanced certificates. And also Master of Science, MS, in economics. Both of them, 45 credit hours. But MS, the menu that asking you to take courses requires more academically oriented because MS is meant for what? Particularly going into further studying, graduate school and PhDs or something like that, right? So here is the thing. If you only want to get MA and go out to work, then I advise you just take MA, but then you should prepare yourself for practical use. In other words, like econometrics, statistics, all right? You should be very good at this. Computer science, computer programming, right? Then business world often requires this kind of skills, right? So if you only want to go out and look for a job, then like financial economics is a very practical field for you to still to get in, even though today finding jobs from that field may be more difficult. But if you can afford to stay longer here, financially you are able, we don't have scholarship, right? If you can afford to stay longer here, we have this 45 credit hours program, 6 advanced certificates program, and 3 MS program. Right? Matt, assistant director, will tell you more detail about this. Right? From there, you can specialize more. And I have now seen a lot of students going into mass PhD because our program, 45 credits, actually requires only some limited numbers from ourselves here. But then we give you a lot of leeway to go to other departments to make up the 45 credit total. So I have advised students that what kind of courses should you take. Now here is the thing. If you want to go into PhD in economics, I advise you to go to math department to take statistics, right? Statistical inference, time series analysis, probability theory, right? That's the thing that you want to do empirical work in economics. But if you want to do theoretical work in economics, I advise you go to math department to take calculus 1, 2, 3, whatever they have, real analysis, differential equations, right? Sometimes they also offer separate thing like game theory, stochastic analysis, right? Sometimes they go to math department to take financial engineering, right? Which we have similar courses, although not in that name. I even ask them to take real analysis if you want to go to economic theory. And if you really want to become a real theorist, you can take even topology there if you want. Optimal control theory. Sometimes engineering school has offering of optimal control theory. Right? We have a lot of manuals allowing students to go out to take whatever they fulfill their ultimate goal. Right? So in the past, the student from my class, I have known that because they asked me to write letters of recommendations. Now they got into law schools, right? They got into business school PhD program, they got into econ PhD programs, and so forth. So we have many different outlets that aimed for their higher degree 45 credits groups. Right? So this is the general thing. Now, as you know, economics today is changing very fast. Right? Now, as you pretty soon learn macroeconomics, you know that in the 1930s, the Great Depression, Keynesian economics was touted as the way to solve the social problem. But then Chicago School toppled the Keynesian economics, right? Everything deregulation causing now people blame causing us today's trouble, right? Financial meltdown because of financial engineering. All these instruments being created without sufficient regulation and just ruin the whole economy. So Chicago School has died, and now Keynesian economics is back again, right? Government rescue program, fiscal policies. So economics is sometimes it's doctrinal, right? Sometimes we are not devoid of our fundamental belief. So if you are liberal or you are conservative, actually your economic doctrines may be quite different. So we are not truly like natural science. On the other hand, economics is so well developed today. Economics is a science because economics is considered a science that can win Nobel Prize, right? And this is well recognized. We are no longer political economy. We are really the science of economics. Right? And if you look at all these development now, economics really is now going into further development into psychology. Right? Psychologists got Nobel Prize in economics, right? Kahneman, for instance. Right? And game theorists, mathematicians got Nobel Prize in economics. Business school, a lot of financial economists got Nobel Prize in economics. So our fields are now really branching out quite a lot. Today we have neuroscience, neuroeconomics, right? And we now want to know many people are making irrational decisions, or our general rationalization assumption in economics may not hold. Right? Why is that the case? Right? And now you want to study brain wave. Right? How does that affect your thinking and resulting in different economic behavior? So economics has developed into such a wide-ranging field, it becomes very useful interdisciplinary. Right? So these are the things. So I think you are in a good field, there are so many interesting topics you can look for, right? And just carefully look at our program offerings, and if we will try to accommodate you. Sometimes you need a particular course outside of department, and we are not only approve this, we will still try to accommodate you if it can be justified. Now, math is really the one you really can help you. He is so experienced. Right? I just took out the directorship just less than a year now, and he has been here for many, many years. So he knows inside out. He knows what's the best way to help you with solutions. So if you have a real problem, go to him, and if he cannot solve, he needs my help, he will come to me also. Of course, if you need academic aspect of advisement, talk to any faculty member, all right? And keep close to faculty members, because they are the one eventually writing letters of recommendation for you. And that's very important for your job placement. Right? So don't be afraid of faculty. They are human beings. Right? They're just older than you, that's all. Nothing new. So you should really keep close to them and talk to them, talk about your problem, your ambition, what's the best way to pursue course selections and so forth. Right? So this is the academic side. Now, I want you to be careful about it here. There are two things. Because we have a very few faculty members here, and we have to operate 3 programs, PhD, MA, and BA. We cannot offer courses in full menu and every year, every semester. So sometimes, for instance, let me give you an example, international trade as a concentration. Right? International trade is part of the MS, one of the MS, one of the 3. Now, if you want to take MS, in that we only offer, there will be 535 and 595. These are the sequence required. But 595 is considered first semester, 535, and then 595 is the second semester. So some of you that spring semester comes in, right, and you may have other courses and you cannot take 595, but you intend to graduate in 1 year, so then you will not be able to catch that course, because that is offered this semester, but if you now don't take it, then you have to wait until next year, this semester, all right? And by then you might have graduated already, and you cannot get that field's concentration. Right? So since we don't have an offering of every semester you talk to math, right? If I want to do this concentration, do I need to speed up some courses while now it is offered? I take it right now. Right? In other words, switching the usual sequence. And if that's necessary, you should do that, because otherwise you may run into the completion of the program. Right? Another thing is, I know some of the students are very ambitious. I know that once you register for certain credit hours, above that you don't pay marginal cost, 0, right? You don't pay more, right? And so many of you take 5 or 6 courses beyond your normal time allowed, ended up you got very poor grade. Now we have a 3.0 requirement to be on the program in economics, right? 3.0, like in economics. So ended up, it's a pitiful situation. Some students got 2.8. And because he was taking 5 or 6 courses or 7 courses, right? And we cannot make exception, all right? Because this is a rule, and I have to be telling you, don't come to me or even cry in my office, say, I'm only so short. The problem really is I can't help you. This is our rule. I cannot bend this rule. This is graduate school rule, not even our department rule, all right? So I think you can register at the beginning a few more courses, but then since before the drop period, you should really to see whether you can really handle them or not. Right? You have to really make sure you can have 3.0 average, right, to continue being on the program. Right? So this is the thing. Now, last thing I want to talk about is try to, if you want to really go to a higher degree, PhD, really try to strengthen your technical background. You need econometrics, you need mathematics, right? Mathematics, if you go to PhD program, the technical requirement is quantum jump, right? It's really a big jump, and you need sophisticated math techniques. So you need at least advanced calculus, you need real analysis, right? And on the econometric side, you need statistical inference, right? Time series, probability. These are the courses I think you should take if you are taking MS, right? And you can go to other department to take these courses. We have approved this there already for you to consult, right? So these are the things. Prepare yourself to a much better background. It's not just this program. By the time you get into PhD program, you will face another hurdle. So if you have a good background now, you will compete better later on, right? So don't be nearsighted, right? Don't take very easy course that's not really suiting your future career goal. So really you should set your career goal and arrange your path accordingly, right? So that's the thing I want to advise you. Another thing is I want you to start getting familiarized with current economic events. So read Wall Street journals, read news, right? Try to really get involved with the real world economics, but don't pay too much attention to sports anymore, okay? Using that time to read Wall Street journals, right? And Wall Street Journal is more dynamic than sports, because sports has a season, right? A season is over, you have to wait for next year. Economics events is continuous. Every minute, every time, whole world always there's a daytime somewhere, right? It keeps on going, right? And you have to develop into the case that you are into it. Now, if you are into a sports event, now you know you want to know next game, right? You are anticipating, you are expecting, you are guessing, right? Now, economics is the same thing. If you really are into it, then you will have interest in economic events. That takes years for you to accumulate. This world has too many small things here or there, industry, firms, right? All these countries, international relations, and that takes time to accumulate your knowledge, right? You have to have a very solid knowledge, then when you study economics, you'll find more interesting, right? So still pay attention to this now, right? The next thing I want to tell you is, we have many foreign students here. I find they tend to be always grouping together with their country of origin and speak the same language and just don't branch out. I don't think that's a good thing, right? Especially your foreign students here, you should try to make friends with American students, right? And learn American culture, okay? This is a unique opportunity. And also, very importantly, you should learn to do social networking. In other words, you have to make friends. This is very important for your future career development. We are not like some of these Ivy Leagues. Now, Ivy League schools, they have such an alumni networking. A lot of employment are really helped by the alumni. Right? And we are trying to develop toward that direction in the future. Right? Someday, if you're the entrepreneur, or you want to hire someone, if you see, oh, that's from SUNY Buffalo, you will look at him differently than, oh, if he's from SUNY Binghamton, for instance, right? So it is very important. This is the time for you to get acquainted with friends, right? Be shy, right? And even parties, you should join more often, right? And make friends, right? And this is a way sometimes you get a future employment is because of this, your connection. You need peer connection. So that's about what in this limited time I can talk about. Now Matt will tell you the detail about program needs and so forth. Meanwhile, is there any questions you would like to ask me? Yeah.
Is Wall Street Journal available in this department or in the library? Wall Street Journal.
Journal.
Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal library has it, but sometimes every semester I ask my class students to subscribe to Wall Street Journal. And for one semester is now it's what, $23? Used to be $19, right? For 15 weeks. They deliver to your doorstep every morning. In my case, 4 a.m. it's already always delivered to my house, right? And so if you subscribe to that at $23 for one whole semester, 6 days a week, including Saturdays, right? And that's a very good price, right? Because they got tax deductions, so they charge you just by cost. So any one of you wants to do that, you can come to my office. I will have a form for you to sign. Start reading that, send to your place, we will directly bill you. And you select you want 15 weeks or 1 year like that. Right? So anyone wants to do that, you can do so. Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Well,
it
Dr.
is,
Cheng's office is also down the hall from here, so.
Okay.
All right.
It
Thanks,
is,
Dr.
Assistant
Cheng.
Director of Math.
Okay, what I'm going to talk about mostly is logistics of the economics programs. I'll wait till everybody gets a book. There's a lot of information, so I don't expect you to know it all by the end of this session. Okay. Let's start with a brief overview of the economics program. All of you should already be familiar with the economics website. On the economics website, there's a certain section of it that says, I'm a current student in the program. I don't know if you saw that section, but a lot of it pertains to you. If you can't find that, let me know. There's a lot of helpful information. Current student info, that's the link right there. Some students, and I'm really referring to domestic students, still need to submit their final BA transcript to me. As far as international students who still need to submit their final transcript, that would go directly to international admissions. So if international admissions wrote on your visa or your I-20 that you still need to submit documents, you want to stop by their office. If you're not sure, please ask me. Please make sure that you filled out the correct Buffalo email and mailing address. If you didn't sign your name with your email address, I'm only worried about your buffalo.edu address. If you don't know it right now, that's fine. But if you can let me know, because that's going to be my main source of contact with you. And I use that to add you to the student listserv. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Adding, dropping courses. You have until January 22nd. Classes begin next Monday, Friday, January 11th, but you have Friday, January 22nd to add and drop courses. So again, you do not have to finalize your courses today. That's not the idea. We just want to try to register you for some courses if you haven't been registered, but there's no pressure to finalize any courses today. What you want to be aware of is the Student Response Center that handles the billing. They have certain penalties if you drop. So if you drop from 12 to 9 credits after a certain period of time, you're responsible for a certain percentage. But if you go from 15 to 12 or 18 to 15, you're not responsible. Basically what I advise is that if you have any billing questions about penalties or anything of that nature, please contact the Student Response Center. If you look in your booklet, and I'll show you what page it looks like, there's a calendar, and it's important. I'll show you what it looks like. This is a calendar for January 2010. So I just want to apprise you, classes begin on next Monday the 11th, and then you can see the 15th and the 22nd are certain deadlines. There's no classes on the 18th of January, but this is just a good idea to have certain dates that are very important when it comes to billing and when it comes to adding and dropping classes. You're never penalized for adding classes, you're just penalized for dropping classes after a certain deadline, okay? And if you have questions about that, we can talk more. Okay, the overview of the MA program. The MA program, you have your 5 core classes, the micro, macro, econometrics 1 and 2, the topics in micro. And then you have 5 elective courses. So out of the 5 elective courses, 2 courses can be outside the department as long as they're approved electives. So let me say that again. You have your 5 core plus your 5 electives, and then 2 of those can be. They do not have to be. Now some of you will ask, well, what's an outside approved elective? And it's also on the web as well, but if you turn the page to the back of the page that we're on, turn to the back, you'll see at the top it says list of approved electives that can be used outside of the department. Now, some people will wonder, is there a class that's not on the approved list? Can you use it towards your degree? The answer is that you have to get permission from the director. So in other words, if there's a let's say in a math class that's currently not on this list, but you want to use it towards your program, then you have to get permission from the director. If there's a class that you want to take but do not want to use towards your degree, take it. You don't need permission. So, for example, there are master's students who are interested in applying to PhD programs after they finish this degree, but they're not. They need undergraduate math classes. So, if they want to take an undergraduate math course in order to improve their math skills, they can take it, but they can't use an undergraduate math class towards their degree. And if you want to take, more than the 10 required or more than the 15 required classes, you're welcome to do that. And depending upon what it is you want to do or what your ultimate goal is after you graduate from our program. And if you have questions about that, we can talk about that. Now I'm going to talk about the MA program plus the advanced certificate. Okay? If you look past the page that we just looked at the top, it's the next page. It says MA and Advanced Certificate Financial Economics on the front page, and on the back of it, it says International Economics. Those are our two primary advanced certificates. I would say of the people who do advanced certificates, 99% of them do it from here. That doesn't mean you can't do the other 4. I mean, we offer info and internet, health, law, regulation, and urban. It's just that due to demand, it's just not as much interest as the financial and international. So when you look at some of the outlines that are provided, now I just want to point out something that's very important. The outlines that you see to the right, where it says 1.5-year spring or 2-year spring, those are examples. Okay? It doesn't mean you have to do that course outline. It's just what we suggest you take. And then if you have questions about what should you be taking your first semester, that's a conversation that we can have. But you are not indebted to doing this course outline. Okay, that's very important because there are some courses that you want to take before other courses. This is just a suggested outline. So if you have questions about what classes should you be taking certain semesters, that's the time where you would want to contact me and talk about what you're thinking about. So if you're thinking about the advanced, it's this MA requirements plus the requirements of the advanced certificate. And you can see here the courses that are required in the electives and everything that's associated with that. The thing I need to also add is you also have to pass what's called the micro and macro comp exam. I'll talk a little bit about that in a future slide. Why should you consider doing the advanced certificate? To be brief, the more classes that you take, the better your skill set. The way I frame it is, what's better, the MA or the MS or the advanced certificate? I say it depends upon what you're looking for. One is not better than another. That's very important to realize because what one person's goals are is completely different than another person's goals. And you have to figure out what skills are going to make you marketable, whether it's getting the MA and that'll give you the skills, or whether it's the MS or the advanced certificate, or that'll give you the skills. Do you need to declare your intent to do a concentration? The answer is no. So if you plan on doing, for example, the advanced certificate in financial, or if you're doing the MS in international, MS financial, you never need to really tell me. However, you do need to complete all the required courses for that specific concentration. Can you do 2 concentrations or 2 advanced certificates? The answer is yes. You can do an MA plus an advanced certificate in financial plus an advanced certificate in international. Nobody really does this, but you can do it. The MA program is 30 credits, and each advanced certificate is 15 credits. Some people ask, can you use one class towards 2 advanced certificates? The answer is no, even though it's a requirement of both. You would take another elective. It's just the way that it's on the book. So if you plan on doing 2, people really don't do that. The other thing is you don't do an MA and an MS. It doesn't work that way. And you don't do an MA an MS plus I guess you could do an MS plus an advanced certificate, but again, that would be a minimum of 60 credits. So your choices are MA plus advanced certificate, and MS. And then I guess if you're doing the MS, if you wanted to add an advanced certificate. If you have questions, feel free. We'll talk about that. The overview of the MS program. The MS, you'll see some core classes are the same, some are different. You'll notice for the MS program, 576 is not a requirement, and that's important. You can use 576 as an elective, but it is not a requirement of the MS program. Likewise, 582, 561, and I apologize because 526 is a core requirement for the MS program. It's just not showing there. We have the choice of the 3 tracks, which is financial, international, and applied micro. If you plan on doing the applied micro, you need to work with Dr. Chang to find the appropriate classes. And for the applied micro track, some of the classes that are required are offered a little less than the financial and international courses. Likewise, for the MS, you still need to pass the comp exam. A couple of notes. You must have completed the 2 semesters of calculus. If you didn't, you would have been notified in your admissions letter. And I know some people have questions about the math requirement, and they can meet with me individually about that. Likewise, you can switch into the MS program after your first semester from the MA program. And conversely, you can switch from the MA program from the MS. You can set your first semester up because if you're not sure what you want to do, you can follow, the track that you want to pursue. Is it better to do the MS or MA? I've talked a little bit about that one's not necessarily better than the other, that you need to focus on the skill set. What I try to encourage students to do is try to get an idea of the type of work that they want to do. So if you want to be a financialist for HSBC or Bank of America, you need to look at the job postings and figure out what skills are required that are going to make you competitive for that job. Because if you apply for jobs and you don't have the skills for those jobs, don't expect an interview or don't expect somebody to call you back. Because if they're not in alignment, if you're an employer and you're looking for somebody to work for you, if they have skills that you're not looking for, you wouldn't hire them or you wouldn't even probably call them either. So what I encourage is while you're looking at the MA or the MS or types of classes that you're taking, figure out what skills are in demand for the type of work that you're looking to do. Or if you're thinking about a PhD like Dr. Chang was referring to, is taking courses that are going to help your candidacy for a PhD program. Because if you're not doing those types of things, then you're kind of hurting yourself. Why are you taking those courses if they're not going to, in the end run, benefit you? What classes should you take first semester? The handout gives an idea. Ideally, you're probably going to wind up taking micro, macro, and econometrics 1 your first semester. But depending upon your interests, you might take financial economics 1, you might take an international finance class. It just depends. Not everybody's going to be on the same track because some people might have certain experience while others may not have certain experience. The nice part is, as far as courses go, you can go to any class that you want. I'm going to turn to the page where we have our course listing for this fall. It says Spring 10 Master's classes, and that really refers to Master's Economics. It's about 2 or 3 pages past where I So it looks like this. Yep. So those are our Spring 10 offerings for this semester. The one important thing I want to talk about is the title of a class. A lot of times people are either attracted to or repelled by the title of a class. A title of a class alone is not going to be a good description of the class. What I encourage you to do during the first 2 semesters is, 2 weeks, during the add drop period, is go to as many classes as you're interested in. Because again, some of you may have the background to handle a 2nd or 3rd semester class, and some of you may not. But at least by going to the class, you can have a better understanding of whether it's appropriate for you or not. And a title of a class alone isn't going to do that. So I want to stress that you're welcome to go to a class or see what it's like because you might be doing yourself a disservice. You might be interested in something just by the title alone that normally you may not otherwise be. So I encourage you to do that. At the end of the orientation, some of you are familiar with the MyUB system, how to register online. Some of you have done that. And I also have current students, as well as some of you here, who might be able to help fellow students who did undergrad at UB to help them register for courses as well. At the bottom of that, you'll see some of the management classes that are offered this semester that may interest some people. What's important about management classes is that you won't be able to register for management classes on your own because you're not coded as a management student. If you're interested in taking a management class, A couple pages past that, I'll show you what it looks like. It's called a cross-management or non-major exempt form. So if you go online tonight and try registering for a management class, you can't do it by yourself, okay? If you're interested in taking a management class, what you would have to do is you fill out the form, you bring it to me, I sign it, and then you bring it over to the management office. And then they would add you to the class. We have no control over management classes. So first priority goes to management students. So if it's an MBA student or Master's in Finance student, they're going to have the first priority. From previous experience though, I find that most students who want to get into a finance class, with the exception of the most popular ones, usually are able to get into that class. It depends what your interests are or what you're looking to do, but usually they don't have a problem. I can't talk to the management school because I don't handle it, but just in previous experience, it hasn't normally been a problem. We talked how to register for management. How many classes can I take a semester? We advise no more than 5 classes a semester, but that's ultimately up to you to decide. You can register anywhere between, as Dr. Chang said, between 12 and 19 credits. It's the same tuition price. Under 12 credits, you pay by the credit hour. Some people ask me, should I take 5 classes? Should I not take 5 classes? My advice to you is you need to figure it out, because I can't assess what you're capable of. I mean, that's not my role. My role is more of an advisor and say, if you think you're able to handle 5 classes a semester, great. If you're exceptional and you think you can handle 6 a semester, great. But by going to the first 2 weeks of classes, you can get a realistic idea of what the work expectation is going to be. So that's why I encourage you to go to the first 2 weeks as many classes as possible, because you're ultimately most knowledgeable of what works for you. How many classes can I take outside the economics department? As we talked about before, for the MA program, you can take 2 approved classes outside the economics department towards the degree. For the MS program, it's 3 approved electives outside the economics department. It's a can. You don't have to. It's just an option. The reason why we have such a menu of courses outside is 1, we're a smaller department. We can't offer everything. But 2, some of the classes outside our department are nice complements to our offerings. So that's why we try to encourage students to, tailor their program that's best going to meet their needs. Again, if you want to take more classes past your 30 credits or 45 credits to help better and improve your skill set, you're welcome to do that too. When can I add drop courses for spring 2010? Again, that important date is January 22nd, 2010. Let me talk a little bit about comp exam. The good part is nobody in this room is going to take the comp exam in January. You'll probably, on the listserv when I send messages, you'll see that the next comp exam is February. The earliest you can take that, and then I didn't edit that, but the earliest you can take it is in May, at the end of May. So comp exams for at least the May comp exams offered after the semester, and the fall comp exam and the January comp exam are usually offered within the first 2 weeks of the semester. Sorry, not the first 2 weeks, towards the later couple weeks in the semester. But the earliest you can take it is May. After that, then it would be September, and then after that would be January. There's a micro section and a macro section, and you must pass both parts to obtain a degree. So you can finish all your classes and have a 4.0, but if you have not passed both parts of the comp exam, you cannot graduate. So you must pass. And you have 3 chances per section. Well, you're probably wondering what happens if you don't pass 3 parts. You're dismissed from the program. So again, you could have a 4.0, but if you have not, if you failed more than 3 times, if you failed 3 times, you're dismissed from the program. So that's something important. And I would encourage you to talk to currents. Go ahead.
Does that micro-macro comp exam, does that cover the material you learned in the micro theory?
Yes, yes, for 505 and 507. That's why the earliest you can do it is that.
Okay.
But I would encourage you to talk to current students and professors who sit on the comp exam committee. People who are teaching your micro and macro are on the exam, the comp exam committee. So during the semester, you can start asking them about the comp exam. Internships. There's 1 credit or 3 credit internships. The 3 credit internship can only be applied to the advanced certificate, and only certain advanced certificates. Excuse me. Internships are not a requirement of the MA or MS program or the advanced certificate. They're optional. For international students, there's something called CPT, which you'll learn about. There's a form that you need from me, but it's important that you understand CPT if you're looking for internships. Independent study. One of the nice parts about our program is something called independent study. What that is the ability to work with a professor towards your degree. You're allowed to do 2 independent research, it's called independent research classes, towards your MA or MS degree. So let's say, for example, there's something that you're interested that we don't normally offer, like the economic impact of gambling, okay? We don't offer that as a class, but you have some interest in it. What you might want to do is you might want to see, well, what professors are interested in doing research in that field, and then contact the professor and say, I'm interested in doing independent research. So one-on-one research with a professor. This is different than their own research. You're not becoming a research assistant. What you're doing is you're pursuing something that is of interest to you, but it's in the field of a professor. Now, what examples can I possibly give you? It varies. So what one person does for independent research may be completely something different. Likewise, one faculty member may handle independent research that's different than another. Why I think it's valuable is that you can use it as a tool or as an asset for marketing yourself. So for an example, I want to work for Bank of America, and I want to do analytical work for it, whatever it is. Maybe I do something that they're working on or a project that they're working on, I do my own research, and then when I apply to a position, or if I meet a recruiter and say, you know, one of the independent research I did was focus on your company doing analytical work. So therefore you can say, you know, something of that nature, or it's just independent study to be general is there's no shape to it. It can be anything between what you negotiate with the professor, and that's what's important. But the idea is that it helps you in addition to the courses. Course waivers. Some of you come to the program with some of the courses already done and you've done well in them. And we don't want you to repeat material that you're already competent in. You know, that's ultimately up to you. But if you're already competent and you've done well in certain subject areas, there's no real value to repeating stuff you already know. Likewise, I know that there are some students, because they worry about grades, that they take a class even though they've done real well in it to earn the A. You can do that, that's your choice, but if you're repeating work that you're already proficient in, you're not really adding value to what you already have, and you have a limited time and limited number of courses. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about, you know, course waivers. If you think you should have a course waiver, there's a form that's online, and I'll go through that at the end, where you can apply for a course waiver, you submit your syllabus, and I have your transcripts, so we can show the director that you're already competent in the material. For the Econometrics 1, that's the only exception. The director would give waivers based on previous work. The only exception is Econometrics 1, where you would actually have to take a waiver exam. If you're interested in taking the waiver exam, and I emailed you about it, you would have to notify me if you wanted to take the exam. It's going to be January 15th at 3 o'clock. So if you're interested in taking the Econometrics waiver exam or have questions about the exam, please let me know, and you can do that. If you're interested in waiving Econometrics 2, you would need to see Dr. Ivankar, who's the Director of Graduate Studies. Important. If you waive, just because you waive a class doesn't mean you do fewer credits. It's very important. So let's say, for example, I get waived out of 3 classes, and I want to do my MA degree, which is 30 credits. Okay? That doesn't mean then I have to do 21 credits for a graduate degree. You still have to do 30 credits. You just take other electives in place of the waived courses. It's very important to understand. Likewise, we don't accept transfer credit to our program as well. Application to candidacy, don't worry about it. Nobody's graduating in June, so it's not going to apply to you. When I send listserv messages, which is messages that I send to all master students, you're going to realize some of it doesn't apply to you. Because we have students who are beginning the program, and you have students who are ending the program at the same time, and I don't want to generate 5 different emails to 5 different, constituencies. So some of the material some of the information I send may not apply to you when you read my emails, and you'll know. Graduate school policies. That's at the end of the packet that I gave you. That's the policies and procedures. These are the rules that we have at the university. If you didn't do undergrad, or even if you did undergrad here, the grad policies are different. I'm not saying you have to memorize this. That's not really what I'm saying. But you should know on the first day. I always, give this out to the first day of class, or not even first day, during every orientation. Now I know that there are people who don't look at it, who will probably never look at this until they graduate ever again. And that's fine. But when you're a graduate student, and even if you're an undergraduate student, you need to take some responsibility. And what I try to do is I try to pick it in one area. Different departments won't do this. They won't give you all the information in one nice neat package. They'll expect you to be able to do it. I try to do it as proactively as possible, so this way there's no surprises later on. There's a lot of information in there, and you can read that on your own. I encourage you to be familiar with the graduate school policies because it is your responsibility. In our school, degree conferrals happen 3 times a year, in February, June, and September. And you can see the graduate school manual for the timetable. Some places, they only do it once a year, but here you can do it 3 times a year. Certification full-time status, it's not really going to apply to you because it usually happens in your last semester, but I know that there are some people who have either a tuition scholarship, not in the masters, we don't fund master's students, but they may be having graduate assistantships in other areas on campus who might need a certification of full-time status. If you have questions, let me know about that. I don't want to spend a lot of time on academic integrity that's in the policy, but we try to promote high academic standards in our program, okay? Knowing that on the first day. There are certain protocols that are followed if someone is to believe to be, violating academic policy. I hope that's not the case with any of you in this room, but there have been previous instances in the past, and likewise, I give you the websites where to go to, about academic integrity. I'm not going to spend time on that. The grading system. Some of you may be new to the, to the U.S. grading system. This is the grading system, the way it works here at UB. It's a letter grading system. A 3.0 GPA must be maintained throughout the program in order to graduate. So you might be wondering to yourself, well, what if I don't get a 3.0 my first semester? Depending upon your performance, you would be placed on probation. After that, if you fail to get a 3.0 in your following semester, for that particular semester, you might be put on extended probation or you might be dismissed. It depends on the academic performance of the individual. The important part also is that in order to graduate from the MA plus advanced certificate, or the MS, you have to have a 3.0 of the classes that you're using towards the degree. So the 10 classes you're using for the MA, or the 5 classes you're using for the advanced certificate, or the 15 classes you're using for the MS degree, have to average a 3.0. That's a graduate school rule. And Dr. Chang referred to that a little bit later before. If you have a 299, you're not going to graduate. You're going to have to take another class to get to your 3.0. That's important to understand. Incomplete grades, I'm not really going to get into that. There's times when certain things happen that students would request an incomplete grade from the professor. That is not up to the student. Incomplete grades are not up to students; they're at the professor's discretion, and you could read that on your own. Calculus. For the calculus, we said if you're admitted to the MA, it's expected. For the MS, it's required. If you switch from the MA to the MS, if you don't have it, you'll have to obtain it. But most of you aren't in that situation, and if you're not sure, we can talk afterwards. Logistical items, mailboxes. There is a lounge across from my office where you'll have your own personal mailbox for academic-related activity. Meaning, don't send your bills to the department. If you have phone bills or water bills or anything like that, do not send it to the department. The reason I say that is because we can't be responsible for personal mail. We don't want to do that. If you're not sure, I encourage you to go to a post office and get a post office box or something of that nature. The mailboxes are intended for professors to leave assignments for students, or if you need to leave a book off for somebody or an assignment, at least you have, a mailbox, although most of the time it's done by email anyway. The lounge is open every day, 8:30 to 5. You'll find mailboxes, refrigerator, photocopier, microwave. You're welcome to use these. If you put food in, don't let it spoil, and because it does happen. Lastly, the listserv. I should have everyone's updated contact information, and I will add you to the listserv next week, and that's important. I send out usually weekly messages what I deem as important. You may read my message each week, or you may not read my message each week. I don't take it personally, but please try not to ignore my messages. But if you come to my office and I just sent out a message and you asked me the question and it was in that email, I'll still answer the question, but I won't be happy. I'm kidding. I just want to talk a little bit about career planning real quick. You don't have to figure out what you want to do, but you have to have some realistic expectations. We don't have the personnel in our department to find each person a job. Each student has to take their own responsibility to secure employment. That's important, because if your expectation is for us to find you a job, then you're going to be disappointed when you graduate, because we just don't have that. However, there are tons of resources on campus that you can utilize in order to help facilitate your job search, or if PhD is your end goal, there's plenty of resources that you can utilize. And if you're not sure of the resources, I can refer you to something. When should you begin your job search? Now. Doesn't mean you have to start applying for things, but start identifying what skills are necessary to compete for the types of jobs that you're looking for. And then what if you don't know what you want to do? That's completely reasonable, but I would suggest starting the networking process. Joining the Facebook group, joining the LinkedIn group, talk to professors, talk to fellow students and alumni, and go to career services. Make an appointment with a professional in the work world. If you didn't join the LinkedIn group or the Facebook group, I'd encourage you to do that, because there's some interesting people. At least if somebody can't find you a job, you can say, well, what's it like? What are the skills that are necessary to be competitive for the jobs that I'm looking for? It's very important, because if you start doing this on your first day and you start knowing, then you're going to make yourself that more competitive. If you wait until the end of when you graduate, that's your personal choice. But I find people who are proactive, who utilize the resources, are the ones who tend to be very successful. Joining EGSA, and in April we'll also have our economics networking event. Other things that you can be doing, we talked about skills, abilities, training analysis. Basically finding out what skills it takes to make yourself competitive in what it is that you want to do. Research. Start researching companies. There's lots of nice websites out there that do research on organizations. What I also find important is that there has to be a good person-job organization fit. Meaning that you can love the job that a posting has, and you can hate the company, or you can love the company but hate the job. But overall, there needs to be a good person-job organization fit. And I think people tend to be, if that does happen, that's an optimal place to be. Resume building. Don't wait to have somebody look at your resume. You can always go to career services and start looking into it. Don't wait until you start applying for jobs. Improving your communication skills in a number of ways. Getting the most out of your master's degree. Making the best of Buffalo, New York. To some people, this is a new area. Being in the United States is new. There's a lot of great places, a lot of resources, both on campus and in the area, and taking advantage of that. Making the most of UB facilities. We're a large university that has a lot of resources. Taking advantage of those. There's a career fest that I know of, March 3rd from 3 to 6. And if I hear of anything, I usually send it on the listserv. But it's your responsibility to find things. Some people have asked about on-campus jobs. If people are looking for on-campus jobs, these are 4 places that tend to hire a lot of our students. That's not based on need. That's based on just having an extra job. And I know that some international students are limited because they can only work on campus, but these are 4 places on campus that tend to hire lots of students. Additionally, going to economic department and EGSA events, being proactive, about studies and networking. The undergrad library is open 24 hours, but the grad library is the Lockwood Library. The CFA presentation, Tom isn't here today, he's the professor who teaches the CFA, and unfortunately the time conflicted with when we wanted to do this. I spoke to Tom today. You'll notice that we have a sequence. It's Echo 588 and Echo 589. So 588 is offered in the spring, and 588 is offered in the fall, and 589 is offered in the spring. He said that even though you may not have taken 588, depending upon your skill set and a couple of other things, you may be able to jump into 589 depending upon your background. If you have any questions about the CFA or the 588, 589 courses, you can email Tom. Tom's email address is right on the website, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But he can talk to you, and he's very nice, very approachable. He's not from a PhD background. He's got 20, 25 years of professional experience, which is good because the CFA is more of a professional designation than it is an academic designation. Also, the CFA is not a requirement, it's an elective. And you can use those electives towards the MA or the MS degree. Unfortunately, True's not here right now. He's the president of the EGSA Association. We tend to do a lot of events within our department. If you like getting involved and you like helping out, True is always looking for people to assist. And that's about it.